Just a moment, we're going to hear from one of the country's leading consultants in sales and the customer experience. Before he comes out, since we can't really do him justice, let's go to the video for a fitting introduction for today's speaker, Mr. Michael Hourigan.
Thank you. When I lead that architect, where's all this stuff going to go? Right? That's all going to go in there. All of this stuff is incredibly valuable to me as literature. All of these are specific markets. And when I talk in the breakout session about how to position yourself, look at where do I want to be? And we're going to show you how to get there. Which market do I want to be in? Or how do I get better in my market? But ultimately, the silent sales force is deciding what specifically do I need to use for that client. And for some clients, it may be one piece of literature. For some clients, it may be the demonstration case. But ultimately, being prepared doesn't mean I have all the stuff. Being prepared means I have all the right stuff. In a trade show, there's a critical place to be. It's not in the beginning, it's not in the end. There is a psychology to people that go to trade shows. And the psychology is this: they typically walk through the first third of the show, kind of in a hurry, kind of, getting adjusted, seeing what's around. Then they slow down and pay attention. And then the last third, they're just kind of glancing at on their way out. What you want to do is make sure that your exhibit is right there in the middle third, okay? In the second third, where people aren't going to miss you. I mean, that's all part of your silent sales force. You can use a backdrop or not. If you don't use the backdrop, the subliminal I've got is, amateurish company. Do any of you work with people that I call ploppers? You know what ploppers are? Ploppers are those kinds of people that come into your office and they plop. You know how those people are? Especially if you're a boss, right? If you're a boss, those people come into your office and they plop. Because here's what they've realized. If I'm plopping in front of the boss's desk, I'm working. So they check into this hotel at midnight, and they are checking out of the hotel at 5 o'clock in the morning, right on schedule, and they go to check out, and the guy behind the desk hands my dad a bill for $350. My father says, $350? We were only here 5 hours. My wife made the bed, because mom could never leave a room dirty, right? I mean, she just couldn't do it. And we said, well, sir, you don't understand. Last night we had the cast from MASH here, Alan Alda, Loretta Swit, and they played Streetcar Named Desire, and the tickets for that were $100, and that was included. And we also had champagne and caviar, and that was included. That was another $50. My father says, Oh, okay. He says, and then this morning, he says, but I didn't go to any champagne and caviar Alan Alda thing. He said, but sir, you could have. It was included. My father, He says, and then this morning, sir, we have champagne and caviar breakfast and eggs Benedict, and that's another $100, and that's included. My dad says, I'm not going to drink any champagne before I drive the car. You're some kind of a nut. Guy said, but sir, it's included. You could have. My father said, give me that bill. And the guy gives my dad the bill, and my dad scribbles something on the bill. He reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out a $100 bill, and he hands it to the guy. And he hands him this note. And the guy says, sir, this is only $100. My father says, read the note. The guy reads the note. $250 for sleeping with my wife. The guy said, I didn't sleep with your wife. My father said, you could have. So let's pretend you are married. Okay, Eric? And Eric works for me, and he's a good guy. And I like Eric. And I go up to Eric, and I say, you know what, Eric? You do good work, buddy. Not much, but what you do is real good.
I only work part-time.
You only work part-time. Okay. Now, I said that. I'm trying to be a nice boss, guys. I said that to be just kind of a funny, nice boss. Now, when Eric gets home and says to his new wife, Colby, oh, guess what boss man just said? He said, I do nice work, not much, but what I do is real good. And he's laughing. Is Colby laughing? Colby's probably going to say something like this. What do you think he meant by that? And you know what, guys? I didn't mean a thing about that. I was just trying to be a good guy. But because I'm the boss, everything I say and do is subjected to this process. It's discussed, it's dissected, and it's digested. Thank you much. Hand for Eric, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you much. All right? You're on the telephone, and somebody appears in front of your desk, and you're on the telephone, and you say, can't you see him on the telephone, you idiot? I mean, not that complicated. And then the person starts doing this. We all been there? It's that important. From now on, when that happens, what I want you to do is give him the finger. Give him the finger. This is the finger. Right? This is the finger. This finger means I'm on the phone for 1 minute. Sit down. This means I'm on for 5. Go get a cup of coffee and come back. This means I'm on for the rest of your life. Called the bye-bye. If you adopt these as a group, nobody gets upset. And I mean, quite honestly, if I want to talk to you about something important, Gail, and you give me the bye-bye, you're not going to be able to give me your undivided attention. And you may set a rule that if you bye-bye somebody, you have to get back by the end of the day. You have to send them an email. But I mean, simple enough things. And if everybody knows what the techniques are, it saves lots of time. You want to view it from the perspective of the client. One of the things the Disney people told me when I was working with them is they said, you know what we do, Mike? When we build an exhibit or a ride or something, here's what all of our Imagineers do. We get on our knees, okay? And we then walk on our knees to watch every single piece of that exhibit, because that's the perspective that kids are looking at it from. So ultimately, I want to know what's the perspective that my client is looking at this from. Now, I used to have a lot of people work for me, and I had a lot of ploppers. And I want to tell you about two of my favorite kind of ploppers. One kind of plopper I had the sky is falling plopper. All right? No matter what happened, an ad, something would come in the newspaper, this would update your resumes, we're all going to be out of work tomorrow. Right? That kind of plopper. And when he would get to me, he would always be out of breath. You know, just had to get this information to me. Just had to get this information to me. And so when he would come in, I picked up the phone. Who was on the telephone? Nobody. But when I saw Frank, he was always red in the face, out of breath. I'd put my hand over and I'd say, Frank, I've got the president of the company on the phone. And I'm in meetings all day. I can see how important this is for you. I'll meet with you tonight after work at 7:30. What organizations are realizing is that I have to put a change management program attached to something new, or it's not going to work. Think of change in these terms. I like to think of change in the terms of change units. You have a new change initiative. It doesn't matter what it is. You're introducing a new product, you're taking on a new line, you're doing a new marketing campaign. And basically what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to happen right here. It's supposed to start here, and the plan says that it's supposed to end here. Makes all the sense in the world. The model works. But what typically happens is the change program doesn't end here, it ends up over here. It's kind of like body surfing in the ocean. If I'm body surfing and I get knocked down, when I go to get up, if I don't time when that next wave is, I'm going to get knocked down again. So what happens is organizations come up with the greatest plan in the world. They don't spend the amount of time looking at the change management aspect, and so things start to go wrong. People decide that they're not going to include the other team. People decide that it's not my day to worry about that. All of those kinds of issues start to play in. And what happens is your change issue or your change unit has a tendency to go over where it was supposed to be. The problem is next change unit is supposed to start, and now you've got overlapping change units. What people really want is, if you're going to introduce change, I want the change to go to about here and maybe end about 8% early, so I get a chance to just kind of take a breath, because that's what's so important to me about the change, is I want a chance to breathe. People don't have breathing room. Can I have all the squares stand up, please? All right, let me tell you about the squares. They don't follow instructions. I didn't say sit down. Get back. All right, let me tell you about the squares. The squares are the best problem solvers you will have in your organization. You give them a problem, they'll solve it. Sit down. All right? And now I need all of the circles to stand up, please. All right. I want everybody to take a good look at the circle, because they either have a problem with sex or alcohol. Sit down and stop advertising.